Hey everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode here of Give Me Back My Action Movies, the podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dan Colley, here from Columbus, Ohio, and thanks to the modern marvel that is the internet, all the way from Virginia, our other host, Charlie Chase. Charlie, what is up today?
What's going on, fellas? It's a nice snowy day here in Virginia in January, so I'm kind of toasty in my office right now. I'm digging it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome here. The way we got everything set up here, with us being distanced the way we are, we got ourselves on our phones here talking to each other. We can see each other. I can see out Charlie's window in his office shop. I can see snow on the ground, and he said that I had to look out my window and went, "Oh, no snow. I'm a happy camper here in Columbus."
Yeah, it's not a good day to be outside, so we figured, what the heck? Let's just go ahead and record this first ever episode of Give Me Back My Action Movies.
That's right. The first episode. Hey, everyone, look, we know this one's not going to be probably the grand slam home run of podcasts that we're going to do, but that's all right. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and this is what we're doing today, starting here.
We just got to get the first couple out of the gate. We just got to shake off the jitters, shake off the dust and the rust, and see how this thing plays out. But super excited today. Super excited. This has been a long time in the making, hasn't it?
Yeah, let's see. We a little bit of background with the podcast itself. We started talking about doing a podcast of some type a couple years ago. Charlie, you started the Facebook group months ago.
I started it probably
year and a half.
3 months into 2020. It was
Okay, so it's been around
right around the lockdown. Right around the lockdown.
Okay, so you started that then. And as we were working on that and kind of getting that going, that's when we kind of was like, hey, here's finally maybe some content that we can start putting it into a podcast format.
Yeah, we actually had a vehicle now. We had a vehicle to put out some content that we knew enough about. We had a bit of a fan base. Hopefully it grows after this. But it was
or decreases depending on how bad.
Either way. But no, it just one day decided I wanted to see who else liked action movies as much as I do, and just kind of put it out there.
No one likes action
movies. We're up to 170 members, so that's not no one. That's significant in our little circle.
Okay, so a little bit more background here too. Charlie loves the VHS era action movies. He loves those, the Die Hards, the Raw Deals, and sometimes the worse the better.
Absolutely.
The ones that are just so bad. We've got one that's both near and dear to both of us that we watched together for the first time. We're going to get to that one a lot later, so that's just wait for that one, folks. But essentially, we're going to be talking about some of the movies that we grew up watching when we were younger. Obviously, some of this stuff is a little dated. Some of the stuff here, as we talk about it, may seem like it's a foregone, a bygone era.
Rather. There you go, a bygone era that's long forgotten.
But honestly, some of the things in these movies come back to nowadays movies as well. So that's something else we're going to talk about. We're going to try to tie in some of these VHS era action flicks that we love so much and go, hey, here's maybe a modern twist on this, or here's something that from the more recent times, maybe something that actually kind of gives you that same feel.
Yeah, one of the misconceptions people have with the group Give Me Back My Action Movies is, it's just going to be about those Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, 80s and 90s action movies, and we're not going to care about the new movies. No, we care about the good movies. It's called Give Me Back My Action Movies because I want that feeling again. I want those movies that I grew up with that I can put in a DVD player and my son will sit there and watch going, this is awesome, Dad. He's used to the Marvel movies, the new Star Wars, those are what he knows as action movies. And then he starts watching what I grew up with, and it's like his mind is blown. So I want to bring light to ones that are still doing it today. There are still action movies being made out there that are along the same vein, but they're not mainstream anymore. They're not blockbusters anymore. And just just reminding people that these gems are out there, and we just want to talk about them, bring them back into the spotlight for a little while, even if it's just 45 minutes or 50 minutes of us yammering about them for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say, like, when you say those movies aren't blockbusters or not mainstreams anymore, they are. Um, the last ones that come to my mind are like the Bad Boys franchise. Those were huge when they came out. There a lot of hype, a lot of pomp and circumstance with those. And they were really good movies. I haven't seen the last one yet. I actually still gotta watch it. Me and the wife want to watch it
I
because
haven't
we
watched
watched
it
the
yet
other
either.
two.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
watched it
so I
yet.
need to see that one still. But to me, that's when I think of those, that's what I think of almost. The car chases, the explosions, the gunplay, the one-liners, the comedy, that's the humor that's in those. That to me feels like almost I mean, it's definitely a modern day version, but almost something like a Lethal Weapon-ish, where you've got the two partners together, they're kind of back and forth, but they've really got each other, kind of thing. Car chases,
It's the
gunplay,
buddy cop
explosions.
trope,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff that we again, we grew up with the first Lethal Weapons, which was in the 80s. We grew up with the Tango and Cashes, and Beverly Hills Cop. So those carried through, but there's also a line of movies that are being released almost monthly on places like Netflix and Hulu, where you have fantastic action heroes now, guys like Scott Adkins, Michael Jai White, um, Tony Jaa. These guys are pumping out action movies, and you got to hunt for them now. They'll be like, there's a movie on Netflix today, and it's like Michael Jai White just redid Sudden Death. I think it's called Welcome to Sudden Death, and it's a slight changeover, but it's Van Damme's Sudden Death. The hockey where he takes his kids to the hockey game. Haven't watched that one yet either, but those are the kind of things that they're being pushed down, they're being suppressed, they're not getting theatrical. Well, nothing's getting theatrical releases now, but 2 years ago these movies weren't getting theatrically released either. And it's just wanting to bring the light out about these movies, and there's quite a big fan base still. It's just not theatrically popular, I guess, or financially
Well,
doable.
and I think that's the thing too. The finances aren't there anymore. It's not that I don't know if the mainstream audiences would go see, like, okay, so Rambo, the last Rambo movie was theatrically released. I don't think it did that well monetarily speaking. Um,
No,
so
no.
so that's what I'm wondering, like, is that even today's culture? Would they even go see these action movies? And of course, we're both not, you know, college professors when it comes to breaking
We
that
don't
kind
know
of stuff down.
statistics.
Really.
We don't follow
We
that stuff. We're
but
kind of going off on a tangent a little bit here, but just kind of give an idea that
a
we're
little bit.
we're not just here to talk about the old movies and reminisce about them, and not show light to what the new movies are doing. But not all the new movies are going to be John Wick. Not all the
No.
new movies are going to be, and we're purposely not going to compare these things to the Expendable trilogy, because those movies were designed especially for us. Those were our heroes wanting to make movies they used to make back in the day. So to compare anything to that is silly, because that's exactly what they were designed to be.
Yeah, obviously everyone's gonna say Expendables. Well, yeah, the Expendables was just a modern take on those movies. There's nothing real different about that. Now, the thing that I'm really curious about is this whole thing that came out recently that Netflix is going to release a movie every week, a Netflix movie every week this year. And you've got some big names attached to those, like Dwayne Johnson
Oh yeah.
and people like that. And we know Dwayne's done action before anyway. So I want to see what's going to come out of that. We had things like Bloodshot that came out with Vin Diesel. We had what's the one with Hemsworth that everyone was talking about?
Extraction.
Extraction. So we're getting these action movies coming out, but they're going to come out Netflix, they're going to come out Hulu, and I'm wondering now if is that going to be the main vehicle for these films to come out now? Is that where their real bread and butter
That's
are
going to
at
be
this
where
point?
the smart money is. Ryan Reynolds has his own production company now, and
Mhm,
even he released a movie direct to Netflix. Probably, I want to say maybe a year ago. I don't remember the
mhm.
name of it, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was a Netflix movie. You could tell it didn't have the budget behind it, but it was still a good movie. But
well, and with modern filmmaking techniques, you almost don't need the huge budget nowadays to have decent movies either, which
no,
is
you're
nice.
100% right. The technology has changed now that guys are out there filming better quality with an iPhone than what you had with, huge budget movies back in the 80s and 90s. So
Sure,
that's
exactly.
just the changing of the times. But, we're two old fogies stuck in the 80s and 90s, and those are the movies we want to talk about.
Well, speaking of 80s and 90s movies, then let's get right into today's episode. The we talked about this, and again, this is an extension of Charlie and I's conversations we'd have throughout the days and things of different movies. And we started talking about this, and we're like, what's the first one we're going to kick off with? And we both thought about it. We both decided the first movie that I don't know if it's the first movie that I saw necessarily in this genre, but the first movie that really I remember and really stuck with me. It's the first one of the first ones you ever saw that
It
you
is.
know you were
It,
able to
it was
see.
one of the first
Mhm.
ones that Dad felt comfortable letting me watch because it wasn't a blood and guts. It wasn't a ton of language. It wasn't a ton of nudity. Um, and again, like you said, it's a movie that just struck a nerve with me, has stuck with me forever. And the other small thing about why we decided to do this one, it was also the first movie that showed an inkling in my son. He's 14 now, but at the time he was 13, and I had this movie playing in the shop, in my wood shop, and he come out just to see what I'm doing and hanging out, and it's getting to the climax of the movie, and I turn around and he's glued to the television. You couldn't move him with an earthquake, and I was just like, wow, I think it's time to introduce him to some of these movies. Like, it's about the age my dad did. Um, but we'll quit hiding the name of the movie, and a lot of guys already know that we've talked to. Today we're going to talk about Delta Force. Colonel, it's the major. Exactly.
Delta Force, yeah, man. I mean, it was a great flick. I mean, I one that I really enjoyed. We've watched it again recently to get prepared for today's episode. I still think it's as good as it was when I watched it, at least in my heart. And that's one thing I want to do with these movies is it all nostalgia? Is it all crystal clear Pepsi rimmed glasses? Is it all seeing these and having that young version of me being a fan of them, or is it something that I still enjoy? Delta Force is one I still enjoy.
Oh yeah, I've actually had it on in the shop for the past 2 days on repeat, just because it's snowing, it's cold outside. I've been in the shop. I'm like, I'm just going to throw it on Delta Force. We're going to talk about it. It's countless how many times I've seen this movie. I can't. It's literally I cannot tell you how many times I've seen it, and I love it every time. And
Every time.
every time, there's nothing about this movie that's not exciting. It still doesn't, it still gets my adrenaline pumping towards the end. You know the lines by heart, but when they pop on, you're just, you're giddy. You're wanting to jump out of your seat. Or if I'm doing something in the shop, I know what's happening and I hear it, and I'll go, oh wait, my favorite part's coming on, and I'll turn around and I'll sit there and I'll watch it. I was like, oh, that's awesome, and then go back to doing what I was doing, originally.
Delta Force is a 2 hour, 5 minute, just fun. You know, the term popcorn movies brought up. It's a popcorn movie. You sit there, you just watch it. You enjoy the ride as you go along. I mean, for 1986 film, of course, one of the canon films, which we're going to talk about quite a bit of those
Canon is
in
going
the
to
life
be a
of this
mainstay.
podcast.
They're going to be a mainstay in this podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely it will. So Delta Force, and we're of course everyone knows Chuck Norris is in it, Lee Marvin's in it. We're talking about some of the other cast members that's in this movie, but Charlie and I were talking. We were talking yesterday about this, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about actually some of the acting in it is really good.
Yeah.
And the two people we thought we pulled out right away was George Kennedy, the guy who played Father O'Malley. And of course, this podcast, by the way, I'll just tell you now, spoiler alerts. If you haven't seen Delta Force, I don't know if I don't know if you turned into the right podcast or not, but
Exactly.
um, I'll just tell you now. But the one scene with Father O'Malley at the end, when the member dies, the member of Delta Force dies, and his hand shaking over the body, essentially. you know, to me that seemed legit. That seemed like a real moment.
Yeah.
In that movie.
That seems like what you would fully expect to be happening had that happen in real life. The emotion that's given, you know, it it just kind of struck me. Again, I've watched this movie so many times, but when I actually sit and watch it, I feel like I see new stuff every time I watch it. I'll be like, oh, I totally either I forgot that they did that, or it's like I never realized uh, that was it. And it it's still it's still relevant to watch today. Stuff like that has happened that the movie's based off of, so it even strikes a little bit of a nerve nowadays. Um, but yeah, so George Kennedy was Father O'Malley. His acting was superb, and then you had I'm going to butcher her name, but
Okay, well, you get the first part right. First part
well,
should be easy.
it's Hannah,
Mhm.
and I want to say it's Shagulia, something like that. But anyway,
Pretty close.
she plays the flight attendant, Ingrid, who
Mhm.
is of German descent, and the emotion she puts into this movie and the empathy you feel for her, because they make her isolate out the Jewish sounding names, and she actually refuses and explains why she has to refuse. We won't go into that. Watch the movie, you'll see that scene. Um, just
Right,
phenomenal actress.
yeah, and for those of you, like I said, that haven't really seen it, the plane there's a plane that gets hijacked, by terrorists from Beirut. They find that there are, quote, unquote, "Israelis" on the
Yeah,
plane, the ones with the Jewish names. They want them separated because of the
tensions
political
in the
or
region, we'll
religious
we'll say.
tension for that, right.
Yeah,
So that's why, and then because she's the head flight attendant, she kind of takes charge of the whole situation as far as the flight crew goes, and that's when they make her do it, and she just has such a hard time because of because the history of the Jewish people and the German history, the Nazi occupied German history and stuff. And there's even a scene in the movie where one of the actors, um, he raises his hand. Martin Balsam plays a gentleman named Ben Kaplan. He raises his hand to give him his passport, and you can see that he had been marked. He had been a survivor of that time. So, they kind of played that part up. They didn't play it up over the whole stretch of the movie, which was nice. But during its slice of the film itself, they played it up to what, like, okay, this is legit. They're making them select, and one of the people getting selected had to have gone through something like this in the past.
yeah, and
There was a lot to that.
this
There was a
is
lot to that.
this one is also surprising to be coming from a production company like Canon. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of heart in this movie, and a lot of guys, are going to be like, "Well, I watched movies in the '80s. Why are you guys needling in on those couple of scenes?" That's these weren't just a couple of scenes, though. They really set up the movie with these people being held hostage. That the action is an afterthought for a lot of the movie till like the last part. You get
It really gave you
glimpses.
empathy. Yeah, it gave you empathy of the people.
Yeah, so you see a little bit of Delta Force getting formed, to go out on a mission. Chuck Norris gets brought out of retirement because he was involved in a botched kind of mission in Vietnam, and he retires. He goes to Texas, and and they still kind of play it up, where they're getting ready to go on the mission, and they're like, well, should we wait on Scott? And he's like, well, no, he retired off to that horse ranch in Texas. Let's not worry about him. And it, in the back of everyone's mind, they're all sitting there waiting on him. They're literally holding up the plane. The generals are getting mad because Lee Marvin's like, we'll wait 5 more minutes. We'll give him a few more minutes. And
Right, and honestly too, that movie, the part, okay, so the part where Chuck Norris is in that botched section was actually supposed to be a little play on an actual event that occurred in the '80s when we had a lot of the terrorist hijackings and things that occurred, in that time frame. And, Delta Force were actually sent out on these missions. Delta
Yep.
Force was a legit anti-terrorist arm of the military, special forces military, and so it was based on that as well. So it wasn't superheroes. It wasn't, and I love superhero movies, don't get me wrong, but like these people weren't superhuman. They were just highly trained soldiers.
They were soldiers. To play on what you were just talking about, the first iteration of this movie was supposed to be based on an actual mission. I forget the gentleman's name that
I believe it was supposed to be the mission to was it Egypt or Greece? They had Air Force personnel.
Yeah, it was along there. But anyway, the whole thing was Delta Force lost. They didn't win. They didn't achieve their mission, and Cannon didn't want to write that movie. Cannon didn't want to film that movie. So the guy that was the original, I forget what you would call him, the guy that really went through it left. He left the project. He's like, if you're not going to tell the story right. So Cannon still knew they had to do a movie where the good guys win, the bad guys die. They had a formula to follow. But in this movie, you don't get your quintessential action hero. Yes, it's Chuck Norris, but even this, as far as the movies we grew up with Chuck Norris, there isn't this long, drawn-out fight at the end. He literally just kind of goes in, kicks the guy's ass, and
rolls out like an 80s action movie.
Rolls out and kills him in the most glorified way he could. This wasn't like, let's show Chuck. Actually, you don't even see Chuck Norris's muscles except in the first clip because he's wearing a sleeveless shirt from Vietnam.
Yeah.
He's in full, black flight suit, if you want to call it, outfit.
Their BDU, like their BDU tactical gear. Yeah.
So there was none of
what
that.
You're saying.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying what you were saying. It was Commanding Officer Colonel Charles Beckwith, and it was actually Operation Eagle Claw. So like you said, it failed attempt in 1979 to free hostages in Iran, and because they didn't want to do it, the Colonel Beckwith he walked off.
Yeah.
He took off on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So like you said, there was some legitimacy to this movie. Now there's also a ton of cheese in this movie.
Oh, there is enough cheese for a cheese plate in this movie, sir.
I never understood. There's supposed to be an anti-terrorist. There's supposed to be a military. They all carried MAC-10 Uzis.
Well, Delta Force carried Uzis in the 80s, but yeah, it was
machine gun pistols, assault rifles. It's like, come on, they didn't have M16s or I'm not sure when MP5s came out or anything like that, but it's like they all just had Uzis, and it's like that's not the most accurate firearm.
Everybody had an Uzi. Everybody wore the white ribbon rope looking thing that wasn't enough there to be a rope to ever be usable. Yet they had rope. They drop rope out of the airplane. They drop rope everywhere, and everyone's wearing it. That leads into this one thing that when I watched it yesterday, I either have mentally blocked this forever or I just realized it, and they're infiltrating one of the prisons where the hostages are being held, and they take a boat, one of the air inflatable boats, and they're all wearing bright yellow scuba tanks, but they're dressed in black, and they're in the middle of the water, and these guys are shining a spotlight across the water, seeing if anyone's attacking. Well, the spotlight comes across these guys, and they all duck. And all it is just these yellow scuba tanks bobbing in the water. And it's like, that is not tactical. That is not even remotely inconspicuous. But, that's what they did. And not 2 scenes later, they're under the sewer where they're going to, pop up to save these people. And they're clinking and clanging around with these scuba tanks on their backs, trying to be quiet. They're being stealthy, but clank, clank, clank. And it's in the movie. You hear it in the soundtrack. Click, clank, clank, click, clank.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing that going, well, that's kind of dumb. And then it makes me, the one scene I was thinking of, we were talking about this, is so Delta Force, their main means of transportation are motorcycles and dune buggies.
Oh yeah.
And these dune buggies on the back, most of them had some type of a rocket launcher type of device.
Yeah.
And there's one scene where they show the rocket launcher in there and dark in silhouette, and it looks like it's just an empty tube.
Yeah.
You can see right through it. You can see right down. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I'm no rocket scientist, obviously, but you can't put a rocket in that. It has nowhere to, for the thrust of it. It's just, it's an empty tube, and
it's a piece of PVC.
It's PVC. Now the whole movie was filmed in Israel, and I'm sure that there's not film production companies that's going to be like, "Oh, no problem, we can get you rocket launchers on these dune buggies to drive around. It's no problem."
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's things like that in there. But again, with when it comes to '80s cheese films, that is the least amount of cheese probably that a lot of these films are going to have in it.
Oh yeah.
With Delta Force.
Oh yeah.
Delta Force, and of course they had to have the Chuck Norris karate scene, the martial arts scene in it.
Yeah, and it really feels like they had to really wedge that into this movie. They were like, okay, it's in his contract. Chuck has to kick someone several times.
Yeah.
So they're like,
where he doesn't really kick anybody else in like the assaults. He ends up one-on-one kicking this guy.
He fights a no-name terrorist for 5 minutes earlier in the movie, and you're like, well, it's really taking him a long time to fight this no-name guy. And then they have to figure out how to get him and the main bad guy alone in a room. Okay, now you guys get to fight. And it's the most one-sided fight I think I've ever seen in an action movie. And, and B, just the setting of this fight is just so... there's no words to describe it. I almost don't want to describe it because I want people to go see this and watch that scene of him in what you would call the final fight.
The big boss final fight scene. Yeah,
the big final fight. It's like, yeah, Chuck's got to kick somebody, and Chuck doesn't get hit. Chuck doesn't get bloodied. Chuck doesn't get damaged. They do stick with that trope of there is no middle ground with some action movies. Either the main guy gets his ass kicked for 10 minutes and then gets this burst of energy, or he stomps this other guy without ever taking a scratch or a hit. We'll call it the Steven Seagal fight.
Yeah, and you're talking about Chuck Norris kicking this guy's ass, and the thing about this movie had Steve James in it, and Steve James, of course, played Bobby in the movie. But a lot of people that watch these types of films knew Steve James from the American Ninja franchise, and Steve James really was a kind of a bad man. He could fight, so I'm wondering if Steve James is watching this fight. Why in the hell I could kick this? What the? I'd like to have been on set with him watching this fight scene, going, well, I know he's Chuck Norris and all, but really he gets this fight scene. I don't get a fight scene at all. Which is funny to me because if you watch American Ninja, he fights better than Dudikoff fights, I think. He's supposed to be the ninja. He
holds his own in those movies. I mean, he really does. But yeah, he's just another Delta Force guy in this one. He's his friend. And, you can tell there's a history between the two because you had Bobby, which was his friend, and then you had Pete, which is like the young protege to Chuck Norris that he's teaching and following up on through there. So you had your named characters, and then you had your Delta Force, which that kind of brings us up to another thing I made a note of, and I've always wondered. There's a scene in the movie where they're going over their next plan of mission, and they're all out, on guard. All the Delta Force are surrounding this one little vehicle, and Lee Marvin's talking, and there's this one Delta Force kid, and I say kid because he looks young as all get out. And he's holding this, this Uzi directly, forward of him. And you can tell he's just looking past the camera. So he's not quite into the camera, but they're on his face. And I'm like, I swear this guy's familiar. This guy's familiar. And I had to look it up. And it is an uncredited Kevin Dillon. And Kevin Dillon's Matt Dillon's younger brother. Kevin been in a handful of movies. I remember him most from No Escape with Ray Liotta on the prison island. He's kind of like the scrappy kid that follows him along and tries to get help out. And I'm just like, that's Kevin Dillon, and he just is like stone, like stone face, scared to death because I bet this is his first thing he's ever done, and he's just
the hundreds of I've seen this movie and I've looked at that scene and went, that's so awkward. This guy's an idiot. Who is it?
It's weird when you watch it. You're like, this kid, he looks terrified. He doesn't move. I don't even think he blinks. I don't think he blinks. And we were talking about this yesterday, and you brought up, and I didn't even scroll all the way down, that Mykelti, I'm going to mess up his name too, but Mykelti Williamson. And I'm like, oh, I don't know that name. You pull up the picture, it's Bubba from Forrest Gump, the other half of Bubba Gump Shrimp. And he is an uncredited Delta Force member, and it's like really quick passings that you even see or can realize who he is in the movie. But it's like, wow, there's actually a handful of people that are in here that weren't stars to begin with. Cannon probably got them for a meal and a hotel room. Yeah. And it's just fun little things like that. And again, I can watch this movie 100 times and I'll find something new I like about it every time.
And then, speaking of cast, then you do have cast members in it that were kind of a big deal. I mean, of course, Lee Marvin, this was Lee Marvin's last film. He was
actually sick.
And that's why if you watch it, he doesn't do a whole lot in the movie. There's a few scenes that he gets to be Lee Marvin. The thing I always joke about is his eyebrows are off the hook on this movie. They're going all over the place.
Oh yeah.
But
he's got the old man brow really in this movie.
He was old at this one. You got Joey Bishop's in this movie. We already talked about George Kennedy. Know him from a bunch of other things. I believe the Police Squad movies, a lot of those Naked Gun movies. I believe he was in.
Yep.
You have Robert Vaughn, who was in Superman. Christopher Reeves.
He was a Superman. He was the general in the A-Team.
What's her name? Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters was in this.
Shelley Winters. She is the other Jewish wife that kind of has a lot of screen time. And now you understand who she is. Now why she got so many lines and so much screen time. Because, Shelley Winters has a catalog of movies way before our times. She's she was a well-known actress to be tossed into a Cannon film at the time. But yeah, really a star-filled cast. I think that's what helps this movie so much. Is there's a lot of talent and a lot of people that have been in this industry for so long. They know what they're doing, and they show it. They bring it to the table in this movie, and you don't expect it. You expect action movie, Delta Force, Chuck Norris, saving the day. This is a very personable kind of movie to watch. You care about the characters. You care about the storyline. It's just been one of my favorites. It always has been one of my favorites.
It's pretty fantastic. Also, if you get a chance, look up the music, the Delta Force theme song in it. It's one it has stuck in my head ever since. I listen to it about once a week or so. It kind of inspirational. I don't know. I really dig the song. The movie.
Yeah, it's the only song.
It's that you'll get it if you watch the fight scene. So I guess the end of the movie itself too. Again, spoiler alert. If you don't know, I turn this off. You're in the wrong place. But at the end of the movie, one of the things that always really kind of got to me and stood out to me was Delta Force, of course, loses a member of their team. They bring the flight back. I can't remember where they brought it back to. What base?
They leave.
They're some base in the Middle East.
They were in Beirut. Was it Beirut? It was Beirut they left.
And
they go.
I mean, most of the times when you see those movies, they end up at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, but I don't think that's the case.
It might have been Greece. They might have been going back to Greece.
So they end up at a friendly base. The flight
Yes.
crew, stewardesses, flight attendants, with Ingrid and their crew were there. The family
Yeah.
that were able to get off the plane at one time, they're there waiting for their friends and family members or loved ones to come back. So the plane lands, they get there, um, the families, everything comes off the nose of the plane. Everyone's saluting, happy to see him. They're hugging him. The band's playing, everything else. Delta Force comes out the back of the plane and just silently walks them, and they're dead now, over to their C-130. And there's another big there's a little moment there at the end between Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin too, where Chuck Norris just kind of shakes his head. He's like, "Hey, we did our job. These people, loved ones, get to come home and stuff." But he just shakes his head. You can see he's very despondent about military in general, and he just kind of shakes his head or whatever.
Yeah.
And Lee Marvin, they have a moment there, and he gets back on the plane, and they start that music up, and the plane just taxis, and they get ready to take off, and then the family, the whole mob, kind of switches their attention to their plane as they're leaving, and thanks them and waves and everything
Yeah.
else. But it was just, to me, I don't know what it is. I can't even explain it. But for years and years, that moment has been the whole, like, that's been a superhero type of moment to me, where they didn't do it for fanfare. They didn't do it for applause. They didn't do it for the thank you. They did it because that was their job. They did it because that's what you're supposed to do. They got there,
Yeah. That's
and
their job. They came in, they accomplished their mission. It was not about the thank yous. It was not about. They had a moment of celebration on the plane when they rescued the men, and they're all drinking a Budweiser. But in the middle of that whole celebration, Chuck Norris's friend was dying, and then dies. So you have this moment of levity, and the people are singing on the plane, and then you have a death. And we were just talking about George Kennedy. The way he plays it was very emotional. You felt it. um, and then playing on what you just said, when the plane lands, the plane lands, they are celebrating. These people are being reunited. They were stripped from each other, husbands and wives, fathers, sons. All this was stripped away, and so there's this huge celebration, and Delta Force is just packing up the gear, getting on a C-130 that's not even 50 yards away, and going home. That and it's one of those things. I understand why they did it, but even now, the pilot comes out after everyone gets off. Because captain always goes down with the ship, so he's the last one to get off. He's standing at the top of the steps, looking around. I almost wish they'd have filmed him like saluting Delta Force. Like catching Chuck Norris's or even Lee Marvin's eye, giving them that one small salute. They give it back, and then the ramp goes up and they leave. But the captain still, he's not down there celebrating with the people. He's just watching all the events unfold. But that's a very emotional. Again, not what you expect from a Cannon movie. This is not what we even come. That's not even what we get
no,
later from Cannon.
this is the same company that had
This,
Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing like a complete moron, you know.
yeah, but that scene's hilarious and it's iconic.
But,
So
it's like,
but this
they
is
went from making something like, this with a little bit of, like, actually some story to it and some heart and everything else to it,
some
to,
heart. Yeah, some
just
heart. Yep.
just dancing and being a total goon. I know me dancing here in video is real good on podcasts, but,
They
for
they can
better or
feel it. Trust me.
so
They don't need
technical
to say it.
aspects of this movie, I'll get into that a little bit real quick. Box office numbers, estimated budget of 12 million, opening USA weekend of February 17th, 1986, pulled in an estimated 5,959,505. So, not even half of what their budget was, but their gross US, their estimated numbers, of course, 17,768,900. So, made about $5 million or so, which, in my opinion, with Canon, was pretty good, probably.
That's good money with Can. I mean, it gave
Yeah.
them a sequel, so I mean, it had to do good. That's also not counting VHS sales and things like that as
Full
far as
column
that
type of
goes.
thing. And of course, 125-minute runtime, and again, 1986, filmed in Israel mostly. So, uh, you know, Delta Force, like I said, we chose it because, we've talked about it now. We've talked a little bit about it. We've talked about how our feelings about it, but we chose it because, again, to me, it just like a lot of these movies from this era, are they giant, legendary works of cinema art? No, they're not. But Delta Force is still one of those ones that I can turn on anytime, catch it in any stage of the movie, and I'm happy. I watch it. After I watch it, I feel satisfied. I feel it's like eating a good meal. It's like after you can go eat slop and you go, whatever. You can go eat something that's really good at a fast food place that is no good for you, but you feel satisfied afterwards. That's kind of how Delta Force. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's how Delta Force is. It's like, you know what? Hey man, that was really good. I mean, I know it wasn't good for me. I know that steak with all the butter on there and everything and the cheese fries. I know they weren't good for me, but I'm satisfied now after having it. To me, that's how Delta Force
Well,
is.
and we're not alone in our thoughts on this, because leading up to this, we've been planning this podcast for a while. I actually went on another podcast called Sludgecast. They do primarily monster movies, creature features. We did an action creature feature mix of Deep Rising. Check it out. It's awesome. We had a blast. But they asked me during that, hey, what kind of movies are you going to be talking about? So we go over, it's 80s, 90s, and Ruben goes, hey, what's the first one you're going to talk about? Can you say it? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can say it. And I was like, we're going to do Delta Force. And everyone else lit up like, I love that movie. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to be the first movie you talk about, because that's everyone either has seen this movie that, or along our genre of lines that we enjoy. Most people have seen this movie. I haven't found anyone that goes, this is a terrible movie, don't waste your time watching it, because I don't think that person out there exists, and if they are, they're miserable in life, and you don't need to be associated with them. It's This movie lit people up, and that's the feeling I have. I watched my then 13-year-old watch just the climax of the movie. He didn't see the whole thing. He didn't get the whole emotion of it. He watched Chuck Norris riding a motorcycle to grab a rope out of a moving airplane and crawl his butt up that rope. Stuntman, but Chuck Norris doing this, and he couldn't tear his eyes away from the screen. I saw myself. Colonel is the major. Exactly. That our favorite line to one of our favorite scenes, and it's iconic, and it's as iconic as every action movie that has a motorcycle has to have a ramp somewhere in the movie. Because we didn't talk about that either, but hey, there's motorcycles behind every barrel and every pile of pallets is a ramp.
Absolutely. I mean, so let's talk about this movie. One more thing about this movie. There's dune buggies with machine guns and rocket launchers.
Yes.
There are motorcycles with machine guns and rocket launchers.
Yes.
So a very Megaforce type of nod. Which
Oh, yeah.
yes, of course, we're going to do Megaforce eventually.
We will be doing that. We're going to make a big deal out of that.
We're going to do Megaforce, of course. But if you look at I'm looking at we got some friends of the show, friends of the Facebook group. Hopefully, they're friends of the show. After they hear this, it may not be.
Yeah.
But our poster guys. Is it Poster Smash?
Poster Smash. Yep. Guys at Poster Smash.
I'm so afraid I'm gonna mess it up. Poster Smash. So the reason I bring them up is I'm looking at the movie poster as we speak. That movie poster is super iconic to me. It's got Chuck and Lee Marvin standing there in their black Delta Force BDU garb with their 2 foot of rope around them.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie was mentioning.
Oh, yeah.
And Chuck's got his Uzi. Lee Marvin's not even looking where he's firing, but he's hip firing a bazooka, folks. Come on, he's hip firing a bazooka. So from the armored up vehicles to me the music, 80s, nothing screams 80s more firearms than an Uzi, a Mac-10 Uzi, and the M60. Those two, and an M16, I guess. But those things, unless you were a bad guy. If you were one of the quote unquote bad guys, you had like an AK-47.
Oh yeah, you had to have the quintessential bad guy gun, which they had in this. They had AK-47s in this one. That's what the additional terrorists bring on the plane. Is almost every one of them carrying an AK-47.
Yeah. And again, Lee Marvin, not a whole lot of the action portions of the movie. Here's one segment when they go to rescue some of the hostages.
You better hurry, Nick. I think there's heavy reinforcements on the way.
How do you know?
Something I heard in the radio.
I didn't know you spoke Arabic.
We don't get out of here, we're all going to be speaking it.
That's that quintessential canon cheese. Got to throw in some levity into this, and it's what I love, man. I just love this. There's nothing in this movie that an adolescent teenage boy was not drawn to.
All right, so yeah, Delta Force, man. What do you? I mean, here's the problem. We're going to be hard pressed to follow this one up. I think this movie selection, this podcast, we can follow this one up easily. This was hot garbage on a bun, but we can the movie wise, Delta Force, man. To me, I'm sure other people out there have your opinion, and that leads me into this plug. Hey, check out our Facebook group. Let us know, obviously, what you thought about the episode, but let us know what your quintessential 80s action movie, if you were going to do a podcast like this, what would be your first movie? If you were building a Mount Rushmore of 80s action goodness, the VHS era things you'd go pick up off the shelf when you were a kid, what would you put on there first? Delta Force for me is definitely going on there.
Oh, it's going on the wall for me. That's 100%. I think we're going to have to, I think later as these shows progress, we're going to have to come up with a rating system so that we can gauge movies. And I think this may have to be one of those benchmarks that it has to breach. How does this compare?
I think I got it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Like a top 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the top. And people will be like, 2 thumbs up, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever. No, we're going to do 5 Allions.
5 Allions. Okay.
So the top, and if you don't know who Allion is, again, you're probably in the wrong spot. But Allion,
the henchman ever,
quintessential VHS era henchman. So Allion, so top 5 Allions, bottom no Allions. I don't want to watch a movie no Allions. So
everything has to be at least a half Allion. He's short, so that's pretty low.
Okay, man. So how many Allions would you give this? You have to have at least a half an Allion. That's at the bottom of the scale. 5 Allions is where it's at. What do you rate Delta Force?
I mean, this being the very first one, I think I'm going to have to go like 4.5 Allions. It's almost 5. There's enough small things in here where I think I could keep it off of 5, but it has to be.
Yeah, yellow scuba tanks.
Yeah. The scuba tanks knock it down half a Leon. No, I think 4.5 Allions. This is highly, highly recommended by me. This one is, if we make a must-watch list, this is up there. This has to be
definitely on it.
Yeah. What do you think? How many Allions, Dan?
I definitely say 4.5 Allions for sure. I'm going to go 4.5 Allions. I just think, like I said, to me, you talk about what's an action movie from your childhood you love, Delta Force.
Yeah.
I'd watch it over Rambo. I'd watch it over RoboCop. I'd watch it over most of them, honestly. So to me, I'm going to have to say 4.5 Allions.
High rewatchability, still a high entertainment value, no matter how many times I watch it. I'm not sitting there going, I literally had it on 2 days straight in my shop. So it's not like I go, not this movie again. I'm sick of it. Nope, I can watch it all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty fabulous.
Yep.
All right. Well, as we finish up and close up shop this episode, first of all, we want to thank everyone who tuned in and checked it out.
All 5 of you.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, both of our wives. So we know it's going to be a work in progress. We definitely know there's going to be some issues. We know there's some technical issues. We know there's some us issues. we're going to work through it.
It'll get better.
At the end of the day, we hope that you look at this podcast like you look at a lot of these movies. Hey, man, it's not going to win any awards, but it was fun.
There you go. It was entertaining.
That's the most we can ask for. We also want to throw some thanks out there. First of all, we want to talk a little bit about, of course, we talked about Sludgecast. Yep. Our friends at Sludgecast there, you like creature features, you like, especially if you like the king of monsters himself, Godzilla. Oh, yeah. Check out Sludgecast because that's where they're at. Check out the Deep Rising episode Charlie was on. He gave a little sneak preview of this show, so that was awesome. We'd also like to thank the Ultimate Action Movie Club. It's ultimateactionmovies.com. Check them out. They do a lot of in-depth talk about all action movies, and our own Charlie has done some writing for them. So check them out, see what you think, and that's a pretty good spot to get some information and get some entertainment from them as well.
They got a Facebook group. They do a lot of articles. There's writers actually all over the globe. Got a friend of mine in Germany. He writes for him. Several guys in America write for him. Articles almost definitely weekly, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. But Ultimate Action Movie Club, Facebook, internet, all that good stuff.
Yep, well-written stuff. Also, I'm going to throw out a quick thanks to the guys at Poster Smash. You can, if you're on our Facebook group, you can see some of their stuff that they will share to our group sometimes. Some really cool stuff. Look forward to working with those guys in the future. And we want to thank Mountain Empire Comics. So if you know where the Tri-City areas in Virginia, Tennessee area, the comic shops of Mountain Empire Comics, there's one in Bristol, Tennessee. Go see Rob. If you're in Johnson City, Tennessee, go see Diane and her crew. They're great comic shops. They're great comic people. They put on an annual Comic Con each year in the area that has actually grown exponentially. It's fabulous. Really, really cool guests down there. Of course, with things going on nowadays, don't know when it'll come back, but when they do, we will definitely be there for it. And we will check all of that out as well. But again, Mountain Empire Comics, check them out. They're on Facebook.
Yep, huge supporters of the show.
Huge supporters of the show. We just want to thank those guys as well. We want to thank all of you for putting up with us for this and being parts of the Facebook group. We want this show to be an extension of that group. We want you guys involved with it. So check us out on the Facebook group. Comment about the show. Tell us topics you'd like for us to cover. If you have any ideas for anything, let us know. If you want to advertise on the show or anything like that, shoot us a PM, me or Charlie. If you want to do anything with us, let us know. Yeah. So beyond that, man, I don't know, man. I'm out. I got nothing else. What do you think?
I think we've talked about it. I think we'll revisit this later, being this is our first episode. There's a lot of introduction to who we are and what we're doing. I feel like Delta Force has earned an entire show strictly about it. So maybe we'll revisit this on an anniversary episode or something.
Something like that for sure.
When we're a little better at this.
Exactly. So, all right. Again, everyone, I want to thank you for listening to us. There we go.
There you go.
I'm Dan. That's Charlie. Thanks, guys. Charlie, anything you want to say?
I'll be back.
I knew you'd say that.